Hi there, meteorologist Ed Valley here, taking a look at the South American weather analysis for this week. And you can see by the headline here, Argentina had some rain this past weekend, but it's still looking drier and warmer in eastern Argentina into southern Brazil. Now, how much of the region? That's going to be a big question. We're going to get into that. But we're going to start off here with rainfall over the last couple days, and this takes us back through Saturday into Sunday. You notice some good rain in southern Argentina here. And then the last 24 hours, some rain in Paraná, and then some rain up in parts of central Brazil as well. And you can see the last 72 hours really have not been all that friendly to southern Brazil, or really the last week. Southern Mato Grosso do Sul, Paraná, down into Rio Grande do Sul. Now, these places are just finishing up planting. I talked to a colleague this morning, said about 80 to 85% of Rio Grande do Sul is planted. So it's still very early in this process. Now, if this were a month later, I think this would be all eyes on this and only this. But I think we still have time to watch this pattern progress. And it's not a worst case scenario yet, but it is trending drier and warmer into the middle of December. Now, down south, you can see over the last week, we have seen clusters of storms continuing to get a lot of Argentina with this moisture. And you notice the only area that hasn't seen anything is just far northeastern areas. So this is still not a bad pattern, but it's not a great one, especially in southern Brazil. But the key here is the calendar. It's still early in this process. I think it matters come Christmas, towards Martin Luther King Day, like that last week of December through the end of January is really where things are going to be made or broken, right? So it's all good to watch the progress, but we need to make sure we're on the up and up with respect to our calendar. So we still have time to go. Now, I wanted to take some time here and look at how rainfall has fared this time through this year at this time compared to last year and compared to normal. This is Brazilian corn production. This is where 80% of the corn is grown. Black is normal, red is this year, yellow is last. What do we notice? We notice a much better precipitation year in Brazil compared to last year. Now, you get into specifics, you can see Mato Grosso is doing better than normal and much better than last year. Heading south, Paraná started off better than normal and better than last year. Now it's a little bit lighter than normal because of the dryness we've seen recently, but still compared to really any sort of 2020 situation, much better, much better. Now up into Rio Grande or down into Rio Grande do Sul, this part of the world is doing much worse. Still better than last year, though we are noticing that it's starting to really deviate from that normal trajectory upwards. So this is, again, the area of concern moving forward. Now, as you move into Argentina, you can see they've been pretty close to normal, which is a good thing. And if you compare the two major production areas, Cordoba, 30% of Argentine corn production, pretty close to normal. That's great. And then finally, Buenos Aires. This part of the world's actually doing, and really the only place that's doing worse than 2020 and 2021. So this is really where we're going to have to watch. Eastern Argentina and then over into Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. That is our focus here for the foreseeable future based on the models and based on the observations so far. So moving through this week, you notice all of the precip is up in Brazil. You notice through the week, by the end of the week, we are going to see some storms clusters in western and southern Argentina. That will be welcomed. San Luis, La Pampa, that part of the world. Over the weekend, maybe that does get into Buenos Aires, but it looks light. And then as we head into next week, we are going to notice that there are going to be multiple opportunities in southern Brazil, especially Paraná and parts of Mato Grosso do Sul. That would be very welcome. Now, again, we're still worried that southern Brazil into eastern Argentina has the lightest rainfall risk, and you see that here. Heavy back west, heavy up north, including Paraná, dry in southern Rio Grande do Sul, and then into eastern Argentina. And you compare that, let's go out to day 10, you compare that to normal, and this is what it looks like. It looks like exactly what we've been saying. It's the eastern part of Argentina and southern Brazil. Western Argentina doing fine. Central Brazil, a couple misses here or there, but generally still doing pretty well. And, that's going to be the key moving forward. Temperatures moving forward, co-located with that dryness, eastern Argentina up into Mato Grosso do Sul. This area could be quite warm and dry over the next 10, 15 days. So that will be a concern. And then finally, the GFS model, kind of the same deal. Heavier rains up in most of Brazil, including Mato Grosso do Sul and Paraná. Wetter in western Argentina, then drier to the east. And if you look at the 10-day numbers compared to normal, it's the same idea as we've been saying. So this is lining up with previous thoughts. Really, it's going to come down to verifying these rains in Mato Grosso do Sul and Paraná. And then from there, we can kind of assess where the dry spots really are. Now, we are heading into phase 6 and 7 MJO. What does that mean? Well, typically it allows for some moisture in parts of southern and western Argentina. But then phase 7 is that wetter look for a lot of Brazil and locally in parts of Argentina. And then phase 8, you notice it's very variable precipitation. So to me, this says that we are going to see at least some moisture moving forward. Our data in the 1 to 5 day is pretty darn dry. Now, the 5 to 10 day, though, you notice how some of that rain comes back in parts of Paraná and then western and central Argentina, before the 10 to 15 day reverts back drier in a lot of the same areas. So it's still not a great pattern. It really isn't in southern Brazil and eastern Argentina, but at least there's some moisture, and we still have to remember the calendar. We still need to get to the end of this month before things really start to become pressing. But the trend here can't be denied. It is going to be a concerning talking point moving forward in eastern Argentina into southern Brazil. Better rains the further north you go in Brazil, and better rains the further west and south you go in Argentina. So that's where we're at here for now. Quick look at temperatures during that time frame, and you'll notice still warm in parts of southern Brazil and northeastern Argentina. Those are the areas we're really just going to have to continue to monitor. Have a great day, and we'll be back with reports Tuesday morning.